Alright, let's make some video notes here. July 1st, 2023, 7:30 a.m. On my way to do some hot yoga. So I got a 30-minute drive. Feeling really straight today. Month of being gay is over for everybody. Feeling pretty straight. So let's get back to the classics. I don't know if I entered. The shower is pretty good for me too, but so is the highway. I think people call it highway hypnosis, but I wonder if you enter a theta state. Your brain enters theta when you're driving. Because my brain immediately, when I start driving, clicks in and starts thinking. I mean, I think there's stuff all the time, but I guess I have more time to put it together when I'm on the road. But I was thinking about feminism, and I know some people have made this point before, that feminism is a shit test for men, but a collective shit test. So they're weeding, it's an evolutionary manipulative strategy where they're weeding out the weak men by setting these ridiculous standards. And so they don't care that you're 6 feet necessarily. Some of them do, but that's what I want to get into. So most people recognize that feminism is a shit test for men and a collective. And so, like, if you approach a woman when you're 5'9", and in your head you're like, well, I'm not 6 feet, so I'm an underdog, and you don't have that confidence, that's what you'll recognize, and then you'll be kicked aside. So when they build up all these shallow, I guess they call them standards. I guess they are standards. They're not moral ethic or values, but they're definitely standards. So when they build these standards up socially, the idea of it in the beginning is you're trying to sabotage the weak men. So if your height is a factor, and you believe it's a factor, then it'll ruin your psyche. So when you approach individuals, whether it's people, business meetings, or whatever in your life, that's gonna shoot you down. So if you just ignore that and just put it as white noise in the background, and that your height doesn't matter when you go into situations, you've passed the height shit test. Now, as far as the capability of protection, it's going to be different in different areas. So, for example, if you're in New York City or California, where there's heavy gun bans and stuff, then most likely women are going to be attracted to bigger, taller, muscular men for protective purposes, but meeker, pale white men for resource gathering, because it's in the city and there's tech and stuff. But also, if women, this is twofold, so if women see men as dangerous, then they'll want a weak, smaller man because he'll be not dangerous to them. Because they're seeing a man as somebody who is not a protector but a threat to them. And if they want one around, they can call the cops if there's a threat, and then just have their weak boyfriend. And so in your mindset, if you're surrounded by 135-pound men that have no combat skills or firearms, then those types of men are similar and more equal to women in many ways. Obviously, exceptions aside. Whereas if you move to a rural area, You might see men start to get back into heavier, be a little bit fatter, shorter, stouter, but it's closer to reality and natural order. In women, a man with a firearm can protect their family. In a rural setting, you're going to need to do manual labor for income. So somebody who's mousy is not going to look as if they can gather resources. Obviously, exceptions aside. I've seen roofers run around, skinny little muscular roofers run around and everything. I'm just saying on the shallow level when you're looking at all this, making some generalizations. But what I wanted to talk about today is the flip side about how it's also a shit test for women, and women are failing the feminism shit test at much higher rates than men. Women are actually getting destroyed by feminism and failing the shit test. And what do I mean by that? So, I was being a degenerate yesterday, past couple of days, and playing poker at a couple of different casinos that had some promotions going on. And it's mostly men that are in there, with the exception of a few women. So the women really stand out. The casino that I was at yesterday had very, very genetically attractive women. Dark hair, symmetrical features, good body ratio, nice heights. And I was like, wow, you don't see many brunettes that are so attractive around anymore. Most people are dyeing their hair and what have you. And then I slowly just start noticing a lot of times during the week, this same place, they have an outfit where it's long pants and long shirts, and it's very modest uniform. But on the weekends, they're allowed to be a little bit more individualistic. And some of the women, are starting to use their other talents, God-given talents, to increase tips. So they're wearing short skirts, knee-high socks. They're wearing low-cut blouses. They're wearing oversized glasses that magnify their eyes, to make them look bigger, to make them look doe-eyed. All the techniques. And then I start seeing the tattoos come out. And these women have tattoos on their leg, on their wrist, on their arm, on their ankles. And when a woman gets a tattoo, she has failed the feminist shit test and become less valuable, and pretty much marked herself to say, I am no longer pure. Now, you can call me a crazy conservative, you can call me a boomer, you can say whatever you want. But when you're in a healthy mindset, 100% healthy mindset, making slow, rational, long-term decisions for yourself, being able to defer gratification, living your best life, hanging out with good people, planning and predicting for the future, family, pair bonding, and what goes with that. You're so busy by positive, good, moving forward, all this type of stuff within your life, that to think about scarring your body with a tattoo doesn't come into your mindset. You get too much else going on and heading in one direction. When you stop to get a tattoo, it's an outward look at other people around you doing the same thing and trying to compete, compare, fit in, and be part of that system. I'm not going to make any moral arguments for a tattoo. It's your own personal body, so if you want to tattoo yourself. But I will say, when people are like, there's nothing wrong with tattoos, it's like, okay, what if we forced everybody to get a tattoo? It's like, well, that's forced. That's not that. It's like, but if tattoos aren't inherently leading to the negative, than like would holding somebody down and giving, when you think about holding somebody down and giving them a tattoo against their will, people are like, holy crap, you're scarring their skin. And what if I put a beautiful rose on there? So if I walked around the street handing out roses to people and being like, here, take this, take this, take this, and they finally grabbed it, you wouldn't be like, oh, my heavens. And obviously there's a permanent aspect of it, but people realize that would be pretty devious to pin somebody down and give them a tattoo. There's not a positive connotation to a tattoo. There's a negative connotation to that. So when people are tattooing themselves, they're failing the feminist shit test. And there's a whole list of things. I'm not going to get into it. There's some parallel religions that preach the exact opposite of feminism. So there's a pretty good argument to be made that the push of feminism and some other movements that are similar, but they just put a different quote-unquote minority class as the pin-up person, that they're promoting a sabotage lifestyle. So women that follow feminism, and modern day feminism, I'm not talking about feminism years ago feminism, I'm talking about today, right now, people out here, they're following a list and they're following the crowd to try and fit in. They're not getting the results that they want. They're actually getting the exact opposite results. And then they continue to push it, and the reason they continue to push it is because it's a crabs in a bucket type scenario. Especially if you're a woman that ends up getting 2 or 3 tattoos and realizes it was a mistake, you need to convince all the other women to get 4 or 5 tattoos. Nowadays, you can remove the tattoos. They have the laser treatments that will break down the ink, so then your body can expel the inks. But the tattoo itself, although bad, and it's you can't see the purity of an individual necessarily, but if they're willing to put impurities underneath their skin that's visible to you from the outside, I'm pretty sure there's other impurities that are going into them that are either manifested via food, mental health, situations they put themselves in, people around them. It was it wasn't a secret growing up that people that were rebelling, that had bad childhoods, were screaming out to the world that trauma with tattoos. It was common knowledge. And I don't think much of that has changed. It's just that we've moved further and further away from proper upbringings, that people are damaged. And if you look around, the mental health is through the roof. If you see 2 people, right, and they're fully covered head to toe in let's just say a burqa, to make it easy, but with no religious implications, just they're covered head to toe, you can't see anything. And then I just tell you, one of them has a bunch of tattoos and one of them has no tattoos. And then you slowly start to remove the clothing as you talk to these 2 people. Actually, let's do it the other way around. That's a bad example. I don't tell you any history of 2 individuals. I just show you their raw bodies. One is covered in tattoos and one has no tattoos. It does not mean that the person with no tattoos doesn't have trauma, doesn't have things they worked upon. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a good person. But if you just had to take those 2 individuals and make a decision which one has has seen more shit, more trauma, has more baggage, and has more impurities that they've witnessed, who would you choose? I didn't fully understand this until I had gone on a date with a woman. We were walking around. We went to a very wholesome date. We went to a farm. I wanted to grab some produce. I said, meet me over the farm. We'll get some apple cider and talk, get to know each other. So we went over there. I said, hey, let's take a walk through the apple orchard. And as we're talking, she's 26. I'm 47 at the time, so this is last year. And she's telling me how much she despises life. She can't wait till the over. She doesn't even want to be 45. She's overweight. She fat fished me. She's got tattoos on her arms. She's got tattoos on her legs. She's talking about getting one on her neck. And I asked her about the tattoos, and she said, it's a way to self-harm that people don't bother you about. And it never clicked for me, but she in her to give her to her credit, she took responsibility for what it was and admitted that it's similar to cutting, that she wanted to inflict self-harm, so she chose these tattoos. And it was really sad. She lied about being medicated, and then with a little bit more investigating during the date, I found out that she was on medication. She was depressed. She was anxious. So she was a feminist. There's a lot of things that I considered red flags, but when I left, I wasn't angry. I don't set dates up where I'm putting time aside, like especially a first date. I wanted to go to the farm to buy my produce and do some shopping or whatever. So I had her meet me over there. So I wasted a little bit of time walking around, but good exercise, mountain views and stuff. So who cares? But all in all, I felt sorrow for her, and she fed into all the BS, and she's not getting any of the results. And so she has failed the feminist shit test from a female perspective. I'm sure 4chan could tell you where I am right now just by the background, but I am at my destination. I am going to be going in and enjoying some hot yoga. So everybody have a great day. Probably never post this, but I'll go back and watch this myself. Take care.